Good morning, beautiful people. There's no one in here yet, so that's fun. Ooh, there's a new button. Oh no, what's this do? Ooh, I did not even notice that. Okay, look at that. I'm just waiting for people to jump in the chat. If you're watching this after it's been posted, I usually just have to talk to myself for like 2 minutes and then people start jumping in here. Oh, hello. Okay, cool. All the Mitchells, hello. Keisha, Kate, good morning. Hello. Happy Friday, or Friday, however you want to say it. Good morning. Hello from Chicago. Well, hi, Kim. How's it going? If you were in the live yesterday, today's going to be very similar. Today's going to be very, very similar because, oh my God, there's just so much insanity to cover. And it's Friday, so it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted. I mean, there's going to be a lot of substantive information, but it's also just going to be a little bit more, I mean, all you can do is laugh. All you can do is laugh to stop yourself from crying or being frustrated or super, super anxious because, like, the thing is, this moment is so insane for a myriad of reasons. I mean, I can go through all the hard data, science, statistics, facts, and all of that, and I will, but like, when you're just looking at this moment, we're living through history. Like, if we survive through this, we're going to be older and people are going to be like, what was it like during that era? You'll be like, oh, let me tell you, Junior. So anyway, good morning. Good morning, Joanna Tech. Hello. It's Frig Day. Oh my God, that's funny. So I'm starting off with this here, and I appreciate every single one of you. Please make sure to send some likes. I am going to hide away the chat. Yes, Joanna Tech, I need to get back with you. I need to get back with a couple people today. I've been super busy the last few days with a lot of other personal business, so I appreciate every single one of you. But yes, will do. Love you, Joanna Tech. You're awesome. Let's get right into it with this, and I'm going to hide away the chat here. I love all of you. All right, let me put this away. All right. Our president doesn't even know what the Declaration of Independence is. He really doesn't. He doesn't. He was asked by reporter Terry Moran from ABC News in an interview that happened a couple days ago. And we're still breaking down parts of that interview because, oh my gosh, it was just crazy. I mean, I reported on some of it yesterday with the MS-13 photos with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and how it was photoshopped and how Donald Trump actually believes that it was real. Anyway, but Terry Moran asks Trump what the Declaration of Independence meant to him. And his response is just wild. So put in the chat below, do y'all know what the Declaration of Independence is? If you're a U.S. citizen, you should know. You absolutely need to know this. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you probably at least have an idea. The name also is a hint, okay? The name is a hint for what it is. All right? Can you put it in the chat below. What is the Declaration of Independence? Trump thinks that it's something else. So let me get to it. So on Tuesday, President Trump sat down with ABC News' Terry Moran for his first broadcast interview since the second presidential inauguration for the first 100 days and all of that. During the interview, Trump showed Moran around the Oval Office, pointing out a copy of the 1776 Declaration of Independence, which announced the original 13 colonies were breaking away from the British Empire. Yeah, cool. Referring to the document, when looking at it, Moran asked, Mr. President, sir, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And this is the moment. This is the moment. And I just want to point out, when people apply for citizenship, I'm pretty sure that they have to actually know what a lot of these documents are. So what does it say? And spoiler alert, Donald Trump has no idea what it is. He has no idea what it is, as you'll see from this answer. But like, if you apply to be a citizen of the United States, You have to know what these documents are. You have to know what the Constitution is. You have to know what the Declaration of Independence is. You have to understand the branches of government, the separation of powers, all of that stuff. But Donald Trump truly doesn't know what it is. This is how the exchange went. The president replied to when he said, "Sir, what does the Declaration of Independence mean to you?" He says, and let me get out my hands. Hold on. He says, "Well, Terry, it means exactly what it says. It means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect. It means a lot. And it's something very special to our country." I just can't. I just truly cannot. Okay. It was an open book test, bucko. It was an open book test. You heard the term Declaration of Independence and you were like, unity. Unity. That one right there. Bless his heart. I mean, oh God, he is such an unsharpened pencil. Bless his heart. Like, this is when I'm, as a Southern person, always say, like, bless your heart. Because it really is. You see the term Declaration of Independence and you're like, yep, that means unity. That means, all together, all... No! Let's put the shoe on the other foot for just a modicum of a second. Let's say that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris were asked this, and this was their answer. You know what? It would be just as absurd. You know what conservatives would say? Oh, this really shows that Biden is incompetent. He's not fit for office. He's in cognitive decline. Okay? Now that it's your guy, they try to do all these mental gymnastics to be like, to justify what he said. Girl, again, you're going to pull a muscle with the amount of stretching you got to do. You could just actually say, this isn't the best Trump moment. It's okay to admit that. Doesn't mean that you're not a guy. It doesn't mean that you're like not masculine. Doesn't mean, no, you can admit when your guy makes a mistake. I think this should be like it's a low bar, but anyway. So, and look at Terry Moran's face. He's like, huh? The clip was later replayed on The Daily Show, where comedian Desi Lydic focused on the reporter's reaction, joking, "Look at Terry Moran's face. He looks like a teacher about to call the school psychologist." And I came up with this meme. And the clip itself, if you go and watch it, is super funny. Now, to put this in even more context, Donald Trump literally has this hanging up feet away, like a couple feet away. Or I should say several feet away from his desk in the Oval Office. Like, how has he not read it? Let me tell you a little bit more. The Declaration of Independence, they are literally a list of grievances against King George III and a declaration of war to separate the colonies from the British Empire for the purposes that they were being taxed without representation over in Britain, and the fact that they weren't getting adequate support from them at all. So they didn't have much sovereignty to actually run the colonies. It was all a very top-down approach. And being a continent away and having not as much communication as we do these days, it's kind of hard to run that, So this person's like, how can a grown man be so stupid? Hey, Donnie, don't you want to hey, Donnie, you might want to actually read it. I think you'll find that you've cast yourself in the role of the villain in this story. You may find these lines about why we disavowed the English king of particular interest. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. Oh, that's another thing. Like, the colonies were not really allowed to trade independently. So they were like, okay, we're a part of the British Empire, but can we make our own trade deals? They're like, no. Yeah. So for imposing taxes on us without consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretended offenses. And this is what the Declaration of Independence is. It's a divorce, basically. Like, you can't say it's all about unity, it's all about love. It is literally a divorce. That's what the document is. I guarantee that he probably doesn't even know that Thomas Jefferson read the Declaration of Independence. He probably doesn't know that. One of the first lines of the Declaration of Independence is like, all of us are given unalienable rights endowed by us to us by a creator, and stuff like that. You know what's so funny? Back in 8th grade, I had to memorize the preamble to the Constitution, and I'm pretty sure that I still remember it to this day. He probably doesn't even know what the preamble is. The preamble is the first part of the Constitution. It says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the blessings and liberty to all. Do and ordain this for the Constitution of the United States of America." It's pretty close, I would say. Maybe I got a couple words off, but I guarantee you, like these are things that you don't need to have it memorized, but at least you should have some understanding of it. This guy says, "Oh, Declaration of Independence, unity, unity. That's what it means." You can't make this up. And I'm not even looking at the chat, but I guarantee that you have all of these like seal clapping Trump humpers that are immediately like, "Oh my God," trying to justify it. Just admit that he made a mistake, that he's wrong, that he's incompetent, that he is incorrect. It's okay to admit that you voted for a guy that made a mistake. You can be like, that wasn't the best moment from him. When Biden, you probably weren't, many people weren't here. I did TikTok live streams, and I shifted over here because TikTok's going downhill. But remember when Biden had that really, really bad debate? I took to TikTok and I'm like, look, I think he made some sense, but it really was not his best performance. And people actually were kind of mad at me. I'm like, y'all, this kind of shows maybe we should replace the nominee. I'm not like the biggest fan of Kamala Harris, but she'd be at least way more coherent and, perform so much better. And so it was just funny because like, when Democrats have a poor showing, they'll replace their nominee. When Republicans have a poor showing, they're like, "That's the best thing ever. Oh my God, bravo, bravo, give us more." And that's the thing. You can't have an ideological conversation. You can't have a discourse with people who truly are not committed to having any sort of sense, any ideology, no, you can't. They're a cult. They're unreasonable to have a discourse with. So when all these moderates are like, "We need to find common ground. We need to find common ground." You can't find common ground with a cult. You cannot find common ground with people who subscribe to MAGA who are fascistic without undermining the integrity of the Constitution. Anyway, but going back to this moment here, he truly doesn't even know what is in the Declaration of Independence. He doesn't know at all. Again, this is what he said. "Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect. And that means a lot. It means a lot." Again, you would have thought that he could have caught on to the idea of it being an open book test when you see Declaration of Independence. The first word he said is unity. You really cannot make this stuff up. SNL, like, if you were to separate Donald Trump for all of his fascistic, awful things regarding he would be perfect for SNL. But no. So the Declaration of Independence is a long list of very specific grievances against George III. That's literally what it is. And thus they voted to separate from England. And also it reminds it. A lot of people were saying on Twitter, saying like, yeah, it reminds me of when Donald Trump was asked about what his favorite Bible verse is. So yeah, this person said, "Then come up close to the reporter's face while he tries to answer. Give this editor a raise." So I can't play the clip on YouTube because I don't have that function. But when during this clip, the person filming was like filming it and panned over and caught the perfect moment when Terry Moran was like, it was so good. It was so good. And also, let me just put a little bit more into perspective here. Let me read all parts of the Declaration of Independence for you. it says in here that he has made judges dependent on his will alone, referring to George III, the king. Gee, I wonder who has done that. He's made judges dependent on his will alone. He has erected a multitude of new offices. Oh geez, I wonder who has done that. For cutting off our trade with all other parts of the world. For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. For transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretend offenses. For abolishing the free system of English laws. You know what's so interesting? Those exact things in the Declaration of Independence really do reflect what Doge and Trump does, as this one user was saying. They were pointing out to, like, hey, this is kind of like what Doge has done. Now, I also just want to point out, a lot of people were comparing this moment to when Donald Trump was asked about his favorite Bible verse. You all know the moment that I'm talking about. So Trump was asked, like, you know, oh, what's your favorite Bible verse? Because he was like, oh, besides Art of the Deal, my favorite book is the Bible. My favorite book is the Bible. And when he was asked, he couldn't give a specific answer. And this is how it went. The Bible is my favorite book. And then the person asked, okay, well, which verses in the Bible are your favorites? I don't want to get into the specifics. Are you an Old Testament or a New Testament guy? You know, probably equal. It's giving a 4-year-old trying to fib, trying to lie, but not being very good at it. It's giving a kid who hasn't done the book report, you know, in school. It's like trying to do a book report on something that the book they've never even read. That's what it's giving. And a lot of these commenters on Twitter were saying the exact same thing. Did you expect anything more from the guy who, when asked which parts of the Bible he liked, he said all of it? Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised he doesn't know what the Declaration of Independence is. That clip always reminds me of a high schooler trying to give a presentation on a book in class he didn't read and trying to give it to the entire class. My favorite part of The Catcher in the Rye? That's tough. You know, there is, of course, the catching. That's important, you know. I caught it. Oop. But there's also the rye. You know, rye bread, it's delicious. You know, it rises to the top. You know, I like both, you know, probably equal. Oh, bless his heart. And it's like, this person said, me, when asked by my wife which dress looks better on her. Babe, probably equal. You just look incredible. I don't want to get into it. It's really personal for me. Oh, God. And this is the thing. To these MAGA people, you don't have to defend this. Oh, hi, Birdie. You don't have to defend this. You can admit when your guy makes a mistake. You can admit, like, oh, yeah, you know what? This isn't his best moment. Maybe he needs to know a little bit more. But they physically can't do that. Their masculinity, their toxic masculinity will not admit when they have voted for someone that is incompetent. It's okay to admit that you were duped by Trump. Yet they won't do it. They won't do it. Because that's what happens when you're in a part of a cult. It's what happens when you let political stubbornness and partisanship absolutely collide into one another. Anyway. So I just found that moment to be so funny. The fact that Donald Trump truly doesn't even know what's in the Declaration of Independence. When asked, the first word that came to mind when asked was the word unity. Unity. Also, I just want to point out when Trump was asked about what his favorite Bible verse is, I actually want to give you what my favorite Bible verse is as of late. Okay, that bird is getting really loud. Yes, I hear you. See, that's the Twitter bird. Okay, y'all? That's the Twitter bird. Absolutely angry that they have been displaced. I do this live stream in my car because I don't have my own studio, and it's a good place for me to film. Plus, it allows me to go different places and stuff like that. So, I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all are awesome. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me make sure that my phone was trying to connect the Bluetooth of my car, so my bad. All right, sorry about that. Now, I want to actually give you my favorite Bible verse, because they were talking about it with Trump not knowing what, was in the Bible. You know that clip? Yeah. Let me give you my favorite Bible verse as of late. My favorite Bible verse, actually, is this one. Jeremiah 22:3. It says, do justice, righteousness, and deliver to the hand of the oppressor, him who has been robbed, and do no wrong or violence to the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow, nor shed innocent blood in his place. Just want to throw that out there. Right-wing Christians really love to pick and choose things in the Bible. They love to pick and choose things. The fact that it literally says, welcome the stranger, help the good Samaritan, they pick and choose things. Now, I guarantee you, I've not looked at the chat the entire time during this live stream. I have it hidden away. Let me point out that the whole thing about homosexuality, and I'm saying this is a gay guy, was literally added to the Bible during a part of a project back in 1941. It was added in there in order to then push an agenda, basically hijacking religion in order to steer a certain belief about humanity. God is love and love is God, so why would he try to ban certain types of love? But if you truly don't actually understand religious history, then of course you're going to boycott that. Just say. So, and there's a fantastic documentary about that exact thing. So, it was like 1941 or 1942, something like that. Anyway, so Donald Trump truly doesn't know the Declaration of Independence, yet he sits just feet away from the darn document. It really is fascinating to me that he doesn't know it. The first word that comes to mind is the word unity. Unity. This should be an absolute embarrassment. This is a very much a big embarrassment for our country. But yet, right-wingers don't seem to experience that. But speaking of embarrassment, let me go on to another topic here. So, this was actually brought to my attention by one of my friends, one of my mods in here. I won't give them, I won't name call them so it doesn't bring attention. But this was something that was kind of in the works for a while, but there's now been official plans released about it. The Associated Press obtained plans for a massive military parade on Trump's birthday. Trump's birthday is June 14th. Oh crap, I forgot to include that during the live stream. So there's this congressional, there's this congresswoman named Claudia Tenney. She represents New York's 21st congressional district. She literally introduced a bill in Congress to make Donald Trump's birthday a national holiday. Our economy is shrinking at 0.3% GDP. We literally are having a huge trade war with China where they're not sending us goods anymore. Our store shelves are going to be empty, according to the CEOs of many big companies. And these Republicans are putting forward legislation to carve Donald Trump's face into Mount Rushmore to to name Greenland red, white, and blue land. These Republicans are putting forward legislation to get rid of Juneteenth, but then make Donald Trump's birthday a national holiday. I mean, I love a holiday, but that's just crazy. That's like North Korea type crap. But yet, here we are. And now Donald Trump wants to do a massive military parade on his birthday. No, this is not North Korea. No, this is not Russia. This is America. He wants to... Do you want to guess how much money it has been alleged to cost? How much money do you think it's going to cost? Just an estimate number. We'll know a little bit more once time goes on. How much do you want to bet that this parade is going to cost? I'll share it with you in a second. I'm not looking at the chat, but I want you to put it in there. I want you to put it in the chat. How much do you think the parade is going to cost? So the Associated Press obtained plans for a celebration, the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary on President Trump's birthday, complete with helicopters and thousands of soldiers. Last month, the Associated Press reported that discussions of a parade on Trump's birthday were in the works, but had a few details to share. Though a price tag was about $92 million, which has been floated and criticized. $92 million. You know, isn't there like a government agency that talks about trying to tackle things like fraud, waste, abuse? You know, they take a hatchet to things like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which protects people from scammers that siphon money and prey on consumers. Or like USAID, which does international development and is basically us doing disaster relief across the world. Or, you know, the IRS trying to actually cut down on the number of agents so they don't audit wealthy tax people. Oh, yeah. So that's fine. It's good for us to save money there. But if we want to, you know what? Let's use all of the money that we supposedly saved by cutting veterans programs to throw a big military parade, on the birthday of our dear leader, that then is going to cost $92 million. This is North Korea type shit, y'all. And we live in America, and this is what they're doing. Let me continue here. In June, the call for this parade calls for more than 6,600 soldiers, at least 150 vehicles, 50 helicopters, 7 bands, and possibly a couple thousand civilians. Also, there's discussions of having like big armored vehicles and like tanks and stuff like that in the parade. Again, this is the stuff that like Nazi Germany did. The planning documents obtained by the AP are dated April 29th and 30th and have not been publicly released. They represent the Army's most recent blueprint for its long-planned 250th anniversary festival on the National Mall. I also want to point out that the planning for this event is actually protected by national security interests and is going through the National Park Service. So this stuff isn't publicly available. We can only understand and rely on what the Associated Press is at least superficially reporting. While the slides do not include any price estimates, it would likely cost tens of millions of dollars to put on a parade. So again, that $92 million is only an estimate, but also it's a pretty reasonable estimate. It can cost more or it might cost less. Who knows? Costs would include the movement of military vehicles, equipment, aircraft, and troops across the country to Washington, the need to feed and house thousands of service members. So what would go into it? Well, some equipment and troops are going to be included in Trump's big birthday bash military parade because he wants to be a dictator, which has been in the works for more than a year. And the festival would set to involve an array of activities and displays on the National Mall, including a fitness competition, climbing wall, armored vehicles, Humvees, helicopters, and other equipment. And like, this is just absolutely absurd. Think about it for a second. Let's say that Biden were to do something like this. That on his birthday throws this big, massive military parade that costs millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars. Just imagine, Fox would go crazy with that. And look, they would be in the right. They'd be like, do you really need to spend $92 million of taxpayer money to throw yourself this lavish parade? For what? For what reason? Especially given that in this scenario, let's just pretend that Joe Biden just went through and just cut benefits for people at the VA. Because that's what Donald Trump has done. He's literally been cutting. I know people personally who are veterans who have lost their jobs because of this, because of Doge, because of all of that crap. So this person puts it perfectly. So this guy cuts aid for veterans, ends a veterans housing program, guts the VA, and then blows money on a parade. And like, you can see that they cite their sources here. Remember when Biden and Obama did this big military parade for their birthday? Oh yeah, they didn't. Y'all, if you're enjoying the stream or you're appreciating the stream, please make sure to like it. I work really, really hard to bring you this news and information in the morning, so it means a lot for you all to support me, just as a quick little FYI. And if you want to support me financially, then join the channel. So, just putting that in context, like, just imagine if Obama had done this. Think about these scandals that Obama had. He wore a tan suit to the Oval Office, and Fox was outraged. Donald Trump says, like, dolls, you know, you're only gonna have, instead of $30, you're gonna have $2 now, and those $2 are gonna cost so much more, and they're gonna cost way more. Or when he's like, when he doesn't know the Declaration of Independence, there's a different level of, like, if a Democrat were to do 1% of what Donald Trump has done, they would be absolutely blackballed from politics. But the reason why Donald Trump seems to get away with it is because his followers are in a cult. They're in a cult. They're devoid of any logical reasoning. They're devoid of any sort of critical thinking whatsoever. And you say, like, oh, that's a little bit rough. Well, guess what? I used to be one of them. I used to just follow. I completely gave up my self-autonomy and all of that to just follow. Think critically for yourself. Have some respect for yourself. Be like, you know what? Actually, I don't know if I agree with that. Actually, that seems kind of fishy. For people who criticize North Korea and Russia, like, why are you not then criticizing Donald Trump for this? Because he's about to throw himself a lavish military parade, complete with, like, tanks, helicopters, spending millions of our taxpayer dollars on his birthday. Doge should take the efficiency axe to the parade, as they are already planning other activities in DC that would be much less costly and wouldn't destroy the roads. Call Doge. We've got fraud, waste, and abuse. We've got fraud, waste, and abuse of power here. He should be planning a cozy dinner with the wife if he wants to give her $92 million from his personal account for her time. That would be okay too. And, like, this is the kind of stuff that people throughout history that we condemn have done. You know, like, let me just put this up here. Lavish military parades. Who in history do we condemn for their awful behavior? Their awful actions? Or even modern day, like North Korea having military parades. This is what our country is going towards. Now, I am confident that we are going to stand up and fight back and actually beat this moment in history. I truly am. I really think that, like, things might get really, really bad, but we're eventually going to push past this. I truly do, because I feel like people are way more powerful than we realize in our opposition. But, like, no, this is awful. If we were to bring that to America, that literally would just absolutely destroy the rule of law. Military parades to the point that we just worship and kiss the feet of someone like Trump. Girl. So, like, this is what Donald Trump is proposing. This is fraud, waste, and abuse at Doge. This must stop. Firing veterans so we can pay for Trump's little parade? SMH. Shitting on veterans while throwing yourself a parade? Perfect. Just think how many veterans could have been helped with that money. Hey Doge, how do you feel about this waste of money? And that's the thing. When they said fraud, waste, and abuse, people were like, oh yeah, no, absolutely great. But then they meant all the things that are literally not fraud, waste, and abuse. That's like me saying we need to tackle the waste, fraud, and abuse, but then we need to get rid of all the benefits for everyone at the company. We need to decrease the wages for everyone. That's the fraud, waste, and abuse. But we need to buy luxury vehicles for the people within the executive committee, because that is important. Again, let me use a metaphor that I've actually posted it in a video on my channel. Let me throw out a metaphor here in regards to how Elon Musk and his whole Doge thing works. The government is a car. The government is a car, and it's running errands to serve the American people, all right? I'm physically in a car, so I'm gonna use this analogy. The driver is the executive branch. That's Donald Trump. They are the ones that can accelerate. They are the ones that can brake. They're the one that steers the vehicle when it goes left or right. They're the ones that have to stop whenever they see a school bus, even if they're on the other side of the road. They're the ones that have to follow the laws in order to drive the vehicle. That's the person running the government. Now, in the front seat, that is, just go with me on this analogy here. The front seat is like Congress. Congress, they're the navigator. They got the map. They got the map. They're the ones that says, hey, executive branch, this is where you turn. Hey, executive branch, this is where this is the directions to where we want to go. Also, they're the ones that make the laws. You must wear a seatbelt. You cannot drive without a license. You can't go over the speed limit. You must renew your license and have a driving test every once in a while. And then the backseat passenger is a lot like the judicial branch. They're the ones that check and oversee the executive and the legislative branch to make sure that the car is going to reach their destination. But oftentimes in this idea of like three branches, people forget about the unofficial fourth branch, which is called the bureaucracy. That's a lot like the car itself. That's like the car itself. See, if you were to have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch all existing, you'd be like, oh, that's great. But none of them can work without the physical car itself. The physical car itself, in this metaphor, is a lot like the IRS. The IRS, basically, they're the agency which collects all of the money from taxpayers in order to fund the government. Think of that like the car's pistons. The car's pistons in a car literally transform liquid fuel in like a gas-powered car into mechanical energy, which then makes the wheels go, makes the vehicle go, okay? The catalytic converter is something that removes pollutants from the car. That's like the National Institutes of Health. They go through and remove things that make us unhealthy. They go through and do that. Or like the FDA, they go through and safety inspect different things. Or like there's the car instruction manual. That's like the Department of Education. You eliminate that, then people are not going to learn how to operate a vehicle or how to maintain it. What Doge is doing is looking at the car and they're saying the car is fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, sure, are there things in the car that are fraud, waste, and abuse? That could be? Yeah, absolutely. Do you need to have a TV in the back? Do you need to have the most slick leather interior? Do you need to have heated seats? Do you need to have 4 cup holders for one person? Do you need to get that detailing on the outside of the car? Yeah, you can have I can't English anymore. Fraud, waste, and abuse, sure. But that's not what they're going after. What Doge is going after are the things literally like the steering wheel, the mirrors, the catalytic converter, the engine, the accelerator, the battery. That's what Doge is going after. In this analogy, it's a lot like the executive branch, Donald Trump seeing some sort of like dangerous grifter thug or any sort of like, sketchy figure just walking around and be like, oh yeah, just come over to the car and pop open the hood and just like rip anything out that you don't like. That is what this metaphor is like. Donald Trump has literally ushered in the dangerous individual to come over to our car and just rip anything out. The reason I use that analogy is like, they're not going after the waste, fraud, and abuse, like throwing a massive military parade after going through and just like absolutely cutting veterans off at the knees, their programs, their healthcare, their housing, their outreach, their crisis hotlines. They're going through and trying to gut things that are actually important for us to keep the car running, while completely missing all the other aspects of that actually are waste, fraud, and abuse. Like big handouts to wealthy weapons contractors, or federal contracts to people like Elon Musk. So this moment is incredibly infuriating for that reason. If you appreciated that metaphor, then please go and check out the video on my channel that actually, I'm way more eloquent in that video when discussing it. I appreciate all of you. I have a whole video on it. Anyway, this moment is just crazy because, like, oh god, it's just I have no words. Hold on, I need a sip of water. Hey moderators, how are we doing in the chat? I've not even looked at it. If someone can text me and just say like, hey, you know, it's looking good or something like that, that'd be great. I just want to make sure. So with all of this being said, I think I've said my piece on the Declaration of Independence. Trump doesn't know the Bible. He wants to throw himself a military parade. I talked yesterday about some of these other really, really wild moments. And if you were not here, I'm just going to quickly touch on them just because they're absolutely crazy. And I released a video on it yesterday, but why don't I just go through it again? Why don't I just go through it again? And again, if one of my mods can come in and or just text me and like be like, hey, everything is okay, that would be great. Like text me outside of the chat here. In this moment with Terry Moran, not only did he not know what the Declaration of Independence was, but when okay, lots of bots and trolls. Cool. Love that. Love that. Awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic. There's so many people that try to get my attention every single day. And it's just so silly. It's so silly, y'all. Like, why are you so desperate to try and get my attention? Why? Why? Can't you do something way better with your time? Minding your own business is free. Anyway. So another moment from this interview that was really, really wild was when Donald Trump truly believed that a Photoshop photo was real. And let me just go through it. Trump pressures journalist Terry Moran to accept doctored photo as real. Why don't you just say yes, Terry? Why don't you just say yes? The president lashed out at Terry Moran in intense TV interview, which included questions about deportations and tariffs. Again, if you're enjoying the stream or you appreciate the stream, then please smash the like button and send some likes. So Trump was angrily pushing correspondent Terry Moran to just accept this doctored photo as real in regards to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, Trump posted on his Truth Social this picture, which I know it's kind of small. I'm going to zoom in here in a second. This picture, which is a clearly doctored photo. This is Kilmar Abrego Garcia's, this is going to be his left hand, I believe. He has tattoos on his hand, okay? You have a leaf, a smiley face, a cross, and then a skull, okay? When looking at this, you see MS-13 at the top there, meaning like the dangerous criminal organization that does awful things. Which, by the way, not every Hispanic person is MS-13. That's like a racist trope. Same way that they believe that every single Asian person was somehow dangerous during COVID. Or assuming that every single black person is like a criminal. It's the racial profiling is the point. And it's awful. Democrats were criticized for the amount of racial profiling they did during stop and frisk in New York. The fact that ICE looks at people who are Hispanic, and you're like, you must be undocumented, even if they're a U.S. citizen. I covered endless stories about that. How they're going after people who are like, oh, you look Hispanic, so you must be undocumented. So it's like, oh God, the racial profiling is so, it's so intense during this political moment, specifically with ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. It's awful. Anyway, this is a clearly doctored photo. You can see that you have, this is the actual tattoo itself, and above you have this. All right. Now, the reason why this is so interesting is because he doesn't have the MS-13 part on his actual hand. He doesn't have it on there. It's not there. It's not there. But Donald Trump continued to double down, truly saying, he's like, no, that's on there. That's on there. It's real. He says, on his knuckles, on his knuckles, on his knuckles, he had MS-13 on his knuckles. Now, for all these people that are like, oh, he knew that it wasn't actually on there. He knew that it wasn't actually on there. He was just translating it. These are knuckles. This here is not a knuckle. I mean, well, actually, hold on. I take that back. You can probably classify this as knuckles and this as knuckles. I don't know if there's a term specifically for this part of the hand, just to be clear. I wouldn't necessarily call this part knuckles, because this is like, anyway. But like, he's like, on his knuckles, he had MS-13. I want to point out that he doubled down. He continued to double down over and over and over. In the interview with Mr. Moran, the president appeared to believe that the characters that had been typed onto the photo he triumphantly held up in his Truth social media post were in fact tattoos themselves. And he's like, wait a minute, hey Terry, wait a minute. And then Mr. Moran was like, he did not have the letter, and he was cut off. Don't do that. It says MS-13, MS-13. When Mr. Moran said that those characters had been photoshopped onto the picture, Mr. Trump looked positively mutinous. And like, this is my thing. Do you think that Donald Trump actually believes? Do you think that he actually believes that that's on there? Or do you think he knows that he's lying? Put it in the chat below. Do you think that Donald Trump knows that he is lying? Or do you think he truly believes that it's on there? He goes on further to say, why don't you just say yes? Why don't you just say yes, Terry? And then we can go on to something else. And then he goes on to literally demean the guy. He's like, you know, you do such a disservice. Such a disservice. This is why people no longer believe the news, because it's fake news. You know, and then he claimed he picked Moran to do the milestone interview because, frankly, I've never heard of you. Hey, they're giving you a big break of a lifetime, you're doing the interview. So he's like, it's like, Donald Trump is so egotistical. He's like, yeah, I took the time to actually choose you and do the interview, so the least you can be doing is grateful. That's like JD Vance being like, have you thanked me yet? Have you thanked me yet? Like, yes, he has. Like, oh my God. But this is how egotistical Trump really views himself. Like, you want a president like that? This is where, again, if Biden were to say that kind of thing, oh my God, the right wing would go crazy. They'd be like, he's such a narcissist. They do it, and it's like, perfect behavior. They have no ideology. They have no set of beliefs. They have no set of morals. It's only opportunism. Heads I win, tails you lose. Nothing more. All to be a cog in the machine of MAGA to enrich one grifter. Anyway. But like, do you think that Trump actually believes this photo is real? Or do you think he knows that he's lying? Because this is obviously digitally imposed. This is photoshopped. Now, what was really just stunning to me was looking at some of his, like, seal clappers responses on Twitter. But again, first, put in the chat here. Answer below. Do you think that Trump knows he is lying and will admit it's Photoshop? Or do you truly believe that, do you think he truly believes that they are his tattoos and won't accept otherwise? Answer below. For me, personally, I actually really do think that Trump believes that this, I really do think that he actually thinks that this is real. Because the way that he acted in that interview, like there's when Donald Trump lies, but like he truly seemed to believe that it was on there. And I said this yesterday, it's also, I wonder if Donald Trump has actually like lied so much that he now believes his own lies as actual truth. And that's also scary. So it's either incompetence because you can't tell a doctored photo, or it's ignorance. It's either incompetence, ignorance, or purposeful lying. Anyway, I think it's number 2. I might be in the minority. I haven't even looked at what y'all said. I'm not going to go and look in the chat just because there's a whole bunch of trolls in there. But like, I'm just, to everyone in here who's being super, super chill and awesome and all of that, I love you. I just get distracted whenever I look over at the chat there because there's just so many obnoxious people and I'm not going to give them the time of day. So looking at some of these people's reactions, of course, these people are like, oh my God, he thinks that it actually says MS-13 is really tattooed. He's so dumb. But then there are other people that are like, he was using that photo for reference for what the the tattoos actually mean. No. This person goes so far to say, like, you thought that the letters were literally tattooed on? No, I didn't think that. Your leader, Donald Trump, does. He literally thinks that it's real. Or he's lying. Neither one bodes a great scenario for him. I truly think that he actually believes that it's real. And then he says, they're a code. Marijuana leaf and smiley for MS. That's kind of, okay, that's really stretching it. Also, hold on. MS, like, you're gonna say, okay, it's not a leaf, it's the marijuana, and then S for smiley, and then the cross looks like a 1, and then the skull, the curves on the right hand side make a 3. You're really stretching it. This person's like, you really thought you had something, as you said in the mirror. Like, and here's the thing, you want to see what real MS-13 tattoos look like? This is what they look like. Right there. You can see the MS part. MS-13. 13. There's not a whole bunch of creativity associated with it. There's not a whole bunch of creativity associated with it. Also, do you see any skulls or crosses, marijuana leaves, or smiley faces? Like, this is what MS-13 tattoos look like. Oh, I see a cross. Okay, to be fair. But, like, a cross doesn't mean that it's supposed to be a 1. And if it was a cross, it would then have a skull next to it for 13. See, that's the thing. Even if you try to use their logic, it doesn't make any sense. It's just, oh God. Anyway. Point is, they are so desperate to try and mold the insanity of what he says to fit, because they'd rather double down on their ignorance instead of actually change. This person said he didn't lie. He believed what he was saying. The only confusion was the symbols versus the actual letters. It seems that Trump believed the actual letters and numbers were there, but the substance is still the same. So you're like, yeah, he is duped by a photo, but it still proves the point? Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Every single conservative saying that the MS-13 part was illustrative and it referenced the real tattoo, but here's Trump admitting he genuinely believes the Photoshop markers are his actual tattoos. No doubt conservatives will shift the goalpost once again. Or MAGA people will shift the goalpost once again. Anyway, oh God. Now, let me share one other, let me share another thing that's just, I talked about this yesterday, but I want to share it again, okay? He posted this, okay, today's the 2nd or the 3rd? I think it's the 2nd, right? May 2nd? He posted this a few days ago on April 30th. He said,
This is, hold on, I need my hands. This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. Not Trump's. This is not my stock market. No, my stock market is so much better. It's so much better. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. It's made of gold. This is the Biden stock market. This, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January 20th. Tariffs will soon start kicking in. They'll be hopping, kicking, stepping, and it's going to be fantastic. You're going to love the tariffs. Tariff is going to be everyone's new middle name. It's going to be everyone's new middle name. Be like, I am Donald Tariff Trump. Donald Tariff Trump, it's fantastic. I'm gonna name my little kids that. Be like, come here, Tariff Trump. Come here, little tariffy. You are terrific. Anyway. But then he goes on to say that, our country will boom, but we'll have to get rid of this Biden overhang. I'll get to that in a second. This will take a while, has nothing to do with tariffs. Be patient. Let me put this in perspective here. Back on January 29th of 2024, when Biden was in office, he then goes on to say that this is the Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win and that will drive the market up. Okay, so when Biden is in office, the stock market is on you. When you're in office, the stock market is on him. Because the stock market looks forward a year to show it's going to perform well because you're soon to be in office. But then now, when you're in office, the stock market looks back and has an overhang because of the previous president. How can it be that the stock market is forward, it looks forward and also looks back simultaneously at the same time? Or could it be that he's a prolific liar? He's a propagandist. He doesn't need to make any sense. It doesn't need to make sense for his followers. They just clap like seals and do whatever he says. Oh, God. It's just the amount of insanity that comes out of this man and this administration daily is just baffling to me. Baffling. Like, how can you do that? And like, people are pointing this out. Donald has taken the stock market with his imports and tariffs. I miss Joe Biden and a strong economy. He's a lying sack of crap. And then says, this cannot be Biden's fault. This person's like, oh, look at this. The economy, GDP, the economy is shrinking 0.3%. You know, just looking down here. And by the way, things are about to get really bad in America. This is all your mess. What will you say when the store shelves go empty within weeks? That's so true. That's so true. He's going to say, oh my God, these stores are empty. You don't get your oatmeal. You don't get your oats. You don't get your cheese. You don't get your bread because of Biden. Biden ate all of your bread. You know, these store shelves are going to be empty. You're not going to be able to buy your artisan apples. You're not going to be able to buy your pretzel sticks. You're not going to be able to buy those Pop-Tarts, you know. Everything is going to go out the window because Biden from the last administration is hoarding it all in a warehouse out in Delaware. He has all the things from China just out there in a warehouse in Delaware. You know, it's not because of tariffs. It's not because of a trade war where now China's not going to be sending us anything. It's not because, you know, it's not because we are not able to produce all of this at a mass scale in America. You know, it's not because of me and my policies, in which many people have said that it is, but it's not because of that. I literally was in the store the other day, and like, I was just talking with some of the employees, and they were like, yeah, things are about to get very real because these stores are about to be overrun with people that are going to be looking for stuff, and it's going to be like higher price. They're going to be sassing at us, and people are going to be getting angry and taking out their anger on us. And I'm like, that's going to be rough. That's going to be rough. And like this person put it perfectly. So we had a 2.4% increase in Q4, which at the time you claimed credit for as the country looking ahead to you being back in office, and that it was your doing. But now we're in a shrinking economy. We're on our way to a recession. And even though you've had control of the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives for the past 4 months, the Q1 decline was somehow Biden's fault. And this person says, do you think that we're all fools? Well, Donald Trump thinks that his followers are fools. He called them suckers and losers, remember? Like, oh, girl. Anyway. But this isn't even the best part. Like, this isn't even the best part of what he's said recently, in my opinion. But I also want to get to this real quick. This person says, no, it's yours. It's due to tariffs. It was soaring under Biden. Your tariffs have literally scared all of us. No one is hiring. It stopped cold. We have a disaster. I have lost retirement money. It was soaring under Biden. I voted for you and I regret it. I'm a Republican. I'll never vote Republican again. Now, I cannot verify the credentials of this person. Though, that being said, there's a lot of people that are feeling this exact same way. I covered it a couple days ago. There's about 7% of the country that voted for Trump already regrets it. Now you're like, 7%? That's kind of low. Voting for Trump for the third time, that's actually significant for it to be 7%. For it to be 7%. Let me go to what I think is the most baffling comment that he's made recently. Other than the Declaration of Independence part, that actually, that's probably worse. The fact that when he was asked about what the Declaration of Independence meant to him, the first word he said was unity. Actually, I think that's probably the most baffling thing. But this is a close second. This is a good honorable mention runner-up. He knows his tariffs are a disaster. Donald Trump says that maybe the children will have $2 instead of 30. Let me just give you the quote here. Let me give you the quote. Oh my god. He said to his cabinet, he literally said, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children, I protect the children from gay people, not guns. I protect it from gay people. Cannot see Marco and Carlos holding hands over there. That's dangerous propaganda. That's propaganda from the Democrats. I protect the children, just not from guns, from gay people. But let me tell you that maybe the children will only have $2 instead of 30. Maybe they'll only have $2, and maybe those $2 will cost a couple more bucks than they normally would. You're a mean one, Mr. Trump. You really are a heel. He's literally the Grinch. He's like, children, you don't need that many dolls. Think about all the children or rich children who cannot afford $30. And they only have $2. So are they going to be down minus $28 then? God, it's just... The fact that he even said this out loud is admitting that he knows his tariffs are about to cause a disaster. He knows that store shelves are emptying. He knows that it's only a matter of time before this tsunami of absolute economic turmoil hits, unless things fundamentally change. And I'm not trying to be super alertist or, something. I don't mean to scare people, but the fact that we have way less goods coming into the country from ports like the Port of Los Angeles have literally seen huge decreases in the amount of actively loaded containers and huge increases in empty containers at their ports. And the thing is, if you're going to do a tariff, you can't just do widespread tariffs and expect that to then all of a sudden have domestic manufacturing supply chains all implemented overnight. That's not how it's going to work. You cannot just cut off trade across the world and expect all of a sudden a supply chain in the United States for things to be produced and shipped to people. Supply chains take years to build. And I'm not even a super, like, I'm not even super knowledgeable about business stuff, but I will tell you, my brother works in business. He's like, yeah, supply chains literally are not built within the course of weeks. They're built in the course of years. So, like, it's just crazy. It's crazy for him that he's literally putting tariffs on stuff that we can't even produce. We don't have the climate to grow certain produce things in America. Yet we put a boycott on, yet we put a tariff on that kind of stuff. Anyway, just reading people's responses here too is just absolutely interesting, absolutely wild. Billionaires like Musk and Trump have no idea, have no clue what it means to be working class family trying to buy presents for their kids. No idea. Trump literally just said, maybe your child will only have $2 instead of 30, and maybe those $2 will cost a few more dollars. Is that what winning sounds like? Again, also, if you're enjoying the stream, please make sure to like the stream. I'm going to have to go here in probably about like 7 minutes or so. I love all of you. Also, go and check out my latest videos too, as well. Y'all are awesome. It's like, yeah, is this what winning sounds like? And remember during the election, you saw all these signs? All of these signs that said, Trump low prices, Kamala high prices. He's literally admitting. He's admitting in that, saying like, maybe your child won't have $30 and maybe they'll only have $2. And maybe they'll cost a little bit more. Maybe they'll cost a little bit more. Prices, like, he knows. And see, this is the thing. Trump thinks that Americans are dumb. And yes, there are Americans that are dumb because they follow him. They follow him. He said he loves the poorly educated. Believe him. Believe him. He literally mooches off of rural Republican America in order to personally enrich himself. And you say, well, why do you care? That doesn't affect you. I live in a bigger city, and I'm a super, super progressive Democrat. But let me tell you, if I see people being ripped off, being manipulated, being brainwashed, I'm like, yeah, have some self-respect. MAGA, have some self-respect for yourself and say, you know what? I don't need to support a guy like that. I don't need to. This is how dictators always rise. They try to appeal to people as being some sort of maverick. They try to appeal to people as being someone that will fight for them. They go in there and they manipulate, and then they do everything for their own self-service or their weird twisted vision for what they want. Very similar to like Putin. Very similar to the North Korean dictator. Or very similar to Hitler. Just, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Don't worship any politician. Hold them accountable. MAGA worships Trump like he's infallible of any sort of errors. It's okay to admit when someone makes a mistake. When Democrats make mistake, when the Democratic nominee performed poorly in a debate, you know what Democrats did? Replace that nominee with someone else. When a Republican performs awful in a debate, like MAGA performs awful in a debate, they're gonna be like, rock on! Absolutely spot on! This is the thing. No one signed up for this awful, weird, arbitrary sports game. Okay? This is politics. Politics should be boring. Politics should be absolutely dry. They should be literally so like, ew, it's so dry. Like, politics were spice, they'd be flour. Like, that's how politics should be. It shouldn't be this like crazy grandiose like thing. But they started allowing reality stars, starting with Ronald Reagan, and this is where we've gotten. Like, I yearn to go back to an economy that's so similar to like FDR's, when there was way more robust support for people who are working class and middle class. When you didn't have all these media figures that constantly lick the boots of a dictator. So these doll comments were it's just wild. Are you ready to concede that you're all dumbasses, MAGA? Maybe the dolls will cost a couple more bucks this Christmas. And I went into a big thing yesterday about how, like, the toy industry is going to be really impacted. And, like, it's... I just see this and I'm like, how do people continue to support this man? How do people continue to support this man? This person said, I actually think that people are slightly missing the point, the important point of Trump's $30 comment. Most families in this country already can't afford $30. Kids and rich families, maybe. If kids have to go from $30 to $2, which do you think, what do you think that means for everyone else? What do you think that means for everyone else? That is so spot on. So spot on. Ready for this? Trump's statement was, may your kids only have $2 instead of 30. The man with golden toilets and a gold Oval Office wants parents to buy less toys for their kids. Preposterous. I mean, and of course the Grinch memes. Oh, the Grinch memes were just absolutely going wild online. And look, it's just very true. It's so true. I liked this one. I actually used to have the words to the Grinch song memorized. And I just love that song. Also, just a quick little thing during Christmas, as a quick little fun family tradition, we have like a stuffed Grinch, and in the family, this is just a quick little personal anecdote. In the family, someone will always steal the Grinchy and wrap it and then give it to someone as the gift. And I always like to try and do creative things with it. So, like, obviously the stuffed animal's kind of light, so I would put heavy things in the box to make them think that it wasn't the Grinch. So anyway, I'm clever. But I'm gonna have to go here soon. But I just wanted to also cover those things too, because, like, the insanity of this moment, and this is the thing, this is all fun and games and this is hilarious, and we absolutely need to laugh at it because it will stop us from absolutely feeling helpless. But, like, this moment is so crazy in politics, and we can't allow it to erode at our will to change it. And what do I mean by that? We can't let the craziness all make us complacent and just accept defeat. Like, Doge goes through and just lays off people. The correct answer is not to just lay back and be like, oh, there's nothing we can do. Fight back. The people we admire in history, people like MLK, they fought back. They said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. When Marsha P. Johnson, when the cops ascended upon Stonewall, the Stonewall Inn, back a while back, when the cops ascended on them and tried to harass all the different gay and trans people that were at the Stonewall Inn, Marsha P. Johnson, who was a black trans woman, was like, no, we're not going to take this. She was the person who threw the first brick to fight back against the oppression of the police. The people that we admire, like Harriet Tubman, the people that we admire throughout history always are the ones that stand up. These are the people who always say no to absolute injustice. So we can't grow complacent in this moment. We have to keep marching on. And that means that we have to find whatever our role is in it and lean into it. For me, it's trying to inform and educate, bring awareness to things, use my fun sort of like Southern gay personality to make it lighthearted. I also feel like I have a good understanding of how to also communicate these really complex political things and break it down for folks that might not otherwise understand it. I try to be a communicator where I'm like, okay, this is what this complex idea is. This is what this bill does, or this document means, or, you know, putting this in context historically. I try to translate that into layman's terms to make it easier to understand. Because there are so many people that don't have the time, the luxury to be able to like be super, super involved in politics. They're working class. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're trying to take care of their kids and their elderly parents at the same time. So if whatever I can do to make it easier for people to understand, I'm going to do it. And when we get through this moment, and eventually when I have a husband or husbands, who knows, I like to be open to things. I want, whenever I adopt kids and become a dad, I want my kids to look back on this moment and say, Dad, what did you do? What did you do during that crazy time? I said, I spoke to people. I spoke to people. I used my voice and elevated the injustices that I saw happening around me. Find whatever your niche is to tackle this moment. Maybe it's volunteering at a local shelter for people. Maybe it is doing whatever you can to stop the absolute seizing of Social Security. Maybe it's going through and elevating the stories of undocumented people and US citizens being racially profiled and deported. Maybe it's best way for you to fight back is to do deep dives about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the IRS. Do big deep dives onto some of the campaign finance violations that have come into place. Maybe it's organizing different protests. Maybe it's calling your congressional lawmakers. Maybe it's actually running for office. Find your niche. You don't have to save the world. You don't have to be the biggest person to take it. But once everyone starts to assume a role and do their part, I mean, it's hard for one person to lift up a super heavy object, but if you get 3 other people or 4 other people to help you, it makes it way easier. So it's not just individuals trying to stop this conflict. It's also all of us. Find your role in it and lean into it and make that part of your identity. So anyway, that's just my little soapbox. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. Y'all are awesome. I appreciate every single one of you. Shout out to Cherie, Ellie, Jenny, Kate, Elisa. All of you are incredible. I just opened the chat and wow, yeah, didn't miss much. Because people just constantly are obnoxious. Anyway, I love all of you so much. Y'all are incredible. Elisa, Joanna Tech, Akicha, Kate, Elisa, Cherie, love you all. Is there any other people I need to give shout outs to? MJ, hello! MJ, I still need to get you your shirt. I appreciate all of you. I really, really do. Anyway, just remember, also, please go and check out my latest videos. Y'all, we almost got to 100 likes on the stream, which is awesome. We have not actually reached that, so it's really awesome that we already have almost 100 people liking the stream, which is eventually a goal. Someone screamed gay. Yes, I am. Good job. Glad you noticed. Anyway, I love all of you so much. Y'all are incredible. Again, shout out to my amazing moderators. Feel free to subscribe to support the channel, and feel free to join the channel if you want to support me financially to continue me doing this. Eventually, I need to have enough money to build a studio and all of that. So it means a lot to have you all here. Just remember that you are beautiful, that you are loved, that you are valid, that you are strong, and that you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye.